We're gradually moving back to opening schools and businesses and, of course, our in-person interactions. I want to remind you, this is all time with cold and flu season getting going. Staying hydrated is key to helping your body deal with the added stress and with the upcoming flu season. My regular fans have heard me talk about a product called Hydrolite for a long time now. It's an amazing rapid rehydration drink. It's a mix that, well, we're obsessed with here. I'm excited to announce they've just released Hydrolite Plus Immunity, just in time for cold and flu season. Hydrolite Plus Immunity starts with their fast-absorbing electrolytes and adds a host of immune-boosting ingredients. Each single-serve, easy-pour drink mix contains 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C and 300 milligrams of elderberry extract, creates what is hopefully immune-boosting formula that's high in antioxidants and zinc. Combining this with Hydrolite's 7 key electrolytes, it's a fantastic way to stay proactive and properly hydrated. Hydrolite Plus Immunity comes in convenient, easy-to-pour powder sticks that rapidly dissolve in water and make a great tasting drink that has 75% less sugar than your typical sports drink. It uses all natural flavors, and it is gluten-free, dairy-free, caffeine-free, non-GMO, and it is vegan. And you can find Hydrolite Plus by visiting hydrolite.com/Dr. Drew. Again, that's HYDRALYTE.com/DRDRW. And be sure to use our code Dr. Drew 25 at checkout for a special discount. This pandemic began, we were not sure how it spread. Everyone began wearing masks and using hand sanitizers. Great ways to slow the spread, but a lot of people still get sick. I can personally attest to that. We now know that COVID-19 spreads via aerosols and droplets from the nose and mouth, and I've been thinking about this for a while. Why aren't we also sanitizing the nose and mouth, killing the virus directly at the place where it spreads? Why weren't more doctors thinking about this? Well, some doctors have done the research. Wish I discovered it sooner. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Halodyne. It's an FDA-registered antiseptic for the nose and mouth that's proven to eliminate 99.99% of the virus that causes COVID-19 in just 15 seconds. That's right. It's created by a team of clinicians with decades of experience in antiviral treatments, initially created to protect healthcare workers. These are smart scientists, and it's a great product that also eliminates many other viruses and infecting particles. I'm using both their nasal antiseptic swab and their oral spray to help protect those around me, and you should be too. For others and for yourself. Whether you're hopping on a 3-hour flight, always use it there, visiting grandparents, or attending a meeting that you can't miss, Halodyne's family of oral and nasal antiseptics give you the safe, easy, on-the-go antiviral protection for up to 4 hours. I encourage you to try Halodyne at halodyne.com today. My listeners get 10% off with the discount code Dr. Drew. That is HALODINE.com, discount code DRDREW. So obvious. It just makes sense. Stop the virus before it spreads and gets in your body with Halodyne.
Hey, everyone. It's a dose of Dr. Drew.
It is indeed. We have a lot of special things going on today. Ami Horowitz, my guest to my left here. Those of you, we have rooms forming on Clubhouse, you see right here. So what I'm doing on Clubhouse is I've opened a room, and we are going to allow our Clubhouse audience to come up and ask questions or interact with us. Once we get going here, all they need to do is raise their hand. Now, a bunch of you have already raised your hands. They're actually hearing me speak as I talk to you all.
And it's our call-in capabilities
right.
today.
This is our new, we're going to try, we've done this a little bit. We're going to try it another way yet, but Clubhouse has been our source of really great phone calls and interesting questions. So 30 of you have already raised your hand. So I've got to, get through this.
They don't even know what we're talking about. They
I want to
questions.
thank our friends over at Halodyne. I'm going to give Ami some of the nasal swabs. That's part of my new health behavior, which is this is a way of preventing viruses. We should be going to the source. It prevents cold, prevents viruses, and it prevents COVID.
When you fly.
Helps prevent COVID.
Okay, let me hear your mic, Ami.
So that means Fauci's condemned it?
No mic.
I'm going to make it higher. Okay, there we go.
Try now. Means Fauci's what?
So I said there's efficacy on this. Fauci must have condemned it.
He hasn't yet, but he certainly hasn't come out in favor of it, which is I find bizarre because it would enhance the effect of masks. I mean, that's really the idea. You notice my Fauci bobblehead here?
No, I didn't see that.
Yes,
I
Fauci.
thought that was you from the back.
No, it's Fauci.
It's the gray hair.
Susan is about to make a me and her bobblehead. Apparently,
me
that's
too?
coming.
No, not
That's
me.
what the request was for you as well.
Yeah, well, mine won't sell.
There was a request, so depends what it looks like, I suppose. But Ami, good to see you. We haven't been in the same room in a long time.
Yeah.
Thank you, COVID.
And you look great.
I'm feeling better. You do too.
Last time I talked to you, you were in bad shape.
I was in bad shape. I can't really remember the whole experience. I don't remember talking to you. I thought I texted with you. Did I talk to you?
We texted and talked. Actually, so you're my go-to doctor to tell me whether I have or don't have coronavirus. Okay. So I was in visiting this investor, and I had to go see him, and I started feeling very short of breath,
Oh,
which
right.
is one of the symptoms of having coronavirus. I'm like, this is me. I've got to go to, but I don't want to infect him. He's a somewhat older guy.
Sure.
So I called Dr. Drew, and I said, I'm short of breath. I think this is one of the, he's like, yeah, like, yes, what's a major symptom? He said, where are you? I said, Vail. You go, you're like 2 miles up in the air.
No, I was like,
that's
what
probably why you're short of breath.
I
Like,
forgot about that.
Yeah, that makes
I was
sense.
like, yes, that's right. And I'm amazed I came up with that given the shape I was in. I was like, blah, 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 blah. For 3 months. Trust me, I was in a rough shape. And I'm still left with a couple things. Sleep. Need for sleep is dramatic. Like if I don't sleep 7, 8, 9 hours, I feel bad. And I always feel like I could keep sleeping, which
Like
is
during the day, need to nap or late
no,
night?
don't need a nap. But before, until 3 weeks ago, I had to lie down after everything. I'd constantly have to lie down. Like I'd have to cut this show short and go lie down, just boom, and that was it for an hour or two. No, this is just nighttime sleep is increased. Word finding is all messed up, and word transpositions. I was in a production today where I called Tom Segura times Sizemore more than once, and what was the other thing I did? Now I can't even remember what it was I was talking about. See, the new memory is usually pretty good, but it's these word transposition, which if I'm not listening carefully, I'll miss it.
By the way, everything you're mentioning is like a Wednesday for me.
I understand, and at my age, that stuff starts happening, but this is accelerated. Trust me, from where it was.
Me too, Ami.
Yeah. Again, those of you on Clubhouse, we appreciate you hanging by.
I also want to mention that for some reason, Periscope is not allowing us to stream.
Oh.
It's
You got canceled.
no, I
Yes.
don't think so. I think they're okay. So
The
Periscope,
Facebook overlords.
no, it's coming to an end end of March. It's just something linked up with our restream. It's just not going there. It maybe they're just sort of transitioning now
Yeah,
or
I thought
something.
Periscope was dead.
Yeah, they may be transitioning. So I think that could be it. Or we got canceled. Who knows?
Are
But
they transitioning to a male or a female?
yeah, so we don't really know. But if I don't know how to tell people. I've been telling people on Twitter all day, but it's not going to pop up. So we are on YouTube. If you go to youtube.com/Dr. Drew, or you go to facebook.com/Dr. Drew, we are there. We're also on Twitch at Dr. Drew TV, and you can find all the links on drdrew.tv.
It looks like we are very heavily populated on Twitch.
But
so
I
people
don't
seem
see
to have
any
gone over there.
Periscope. Look.
No, I don't. No.
And it happened
This is what
yesterday
we're looking
too.
at, this
So
chat.
I don't know what's going on.
That is not good.
I
Chris,
know.
glad you got the
Well,
vaccinations.
we knew it was coming to an end.
Carol
so-
Bowman says, hi, Ami.
Hi, Carol.
So here's the deal, everybody. I want to say thank you to Joe Giannotti, who put together an amazing set of slides. He has become the new COVID tracking project. I asked him to take he's working with somebody, I'll have to get his name because I always forget it. It's the lawyer guy who puts out raw data, very well organized and carefully researched data, let's say. And I get used to looking at the graphs. I got used to sort of figuring out where we are and what's going on based on the behavior of hospitalizations and daily case rates and stuff like that. And Joe very kindly put together the graphs. So the guy's name that he's working with.
Do you want to see the graphs?
I do want to see the graphs. Unfortunately, our Clubhouse folks can't see the graph.
But you can explain it.
Oh, shoot.
To
Where
be
is the
very
guy's name?
explanatory.
I will. So once you put up California there,
Okay.
we're going to do California, Florida, and New York. So there are that's the deaths and the case rates.
Okay, deaths. Yeah, I started at the bottom. So what do you want to see?
I want to see the case rate. So I want to see them both. Oh, that's a hospitalization go
And
up.
ICUs.
And there's is that the case rate?
No, that's
the case rate.
So are all three transposed on one slide?
Not anywhere that we can go to yet. Okay. I'm sorry, Joe. I haven't found the guy's name. I know you want me to shout this guy out. Phil Kerpen was one of the sources, of course. And the lawyer guy, Gary the lawyer guy or something is his name. And I'm not coming up with it. Gary, maybe you can put it up on the thread here for me and I'll see it. Hopefully I'll see it, that is. So there you look at California. So I've been talking about this data for a long time. Now you see the upslope, right?
Sure.
All right. There's a huge upslope that started essentially in November, right? The first part of that. You see how there's a little notch about a third of the way up? Yep. That's Thanksgiving. Now, there was a lot of yelling about Thanksgiving. But the increase had already started, already well underway.
Right.
Now, you could make a case that Thanksgiving perhaps accelerated it, right? Perhaps.
By a little bit.
Yeah, perhaps, maybe not. Who knows?
But it's arguable. Which is the most important point.
Right. It's arguable either way.
It has been presented as fact.
It's not fact. And then they started screaming about Christmas. Well, Christmas is essentially the peak. And then what happens?
It looks like it goes down.
It goes down.
I'm not a statistician, but I can
2
tell
weeks
that.
later, 2 weeks later, when they say it could take 2 weeks.
Looks like it went up.
It went up a little bit.
Yeah.
But then what happened another week later?
Looks like it went down.
It just went completely down.
Yeah.
Super Bowl is about halfway down. Remember Super Bowl is going to cause a horrible outbreak?
You mean Super Bowl, the super spreading event?
Super spreader, Super Bowl. It was going to super spread, and it just didn't.
This is the U.S., this is California?
This is California.
Okay.
So California had a pretty dramatic breakout. So we're looking at this going, did the people gathering around Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year's or Super Bowl, did it have anything to do with this? Well, it's arguable something may have been happening. Now, how much is extremely unclear, right? Now go to Florida.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Wait,
We're just going to look at case
New
rates.
York. This is
New York's
Florida.
That's Florida. Let's go up to the case rates. Florida, is that the case rates?
yes.
Florida, see where it peaked?
Yep.
That's essentially where it opened, where Florida opened up.
Yep.
And all you see is down, 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 down. And it just keeps going down. Can we?
All right, so there's one massive question behind all of this, right?
Well, hold on. Let me show you. Before you ask it, let me show you New York. So let's look at New York. Because New York freaks me out a little bit. Go to the, there's New York. New York is plateauing.
So which peak is the sexual assault peak?
That's like Christmas, essentially. Everything goes down after Christmas. But New York is plateauing in a rather bad way. And they opened up right at this point of started plateauing.
Right.
So it does throw into question everything. We don't know. That's the point. Now, there was a great article in the New York Magazine by a guy named Wallace Wells. I suggest you read it. That they evaluated the leadership, the action, and the outbreak sort of course, much like this data, of almost every country in the world. And here's what he concluded. Nothing works. Everything works. We have no idea what makes the virus go up and go down. So, which is kind of where my head's at. Does that mean we shouldn't do things? No, we should do things. Should we draconianly lock things down for something that we don't know if it's working? That seems silly to me.
Uh-oh.
What's the matter? Oh, we got out of
Went
focus.
out of focus.
Well, go ahead. It's back in. It's back in, Susan. It's back in. It's back in. So what's the big question you wanted to ask?
So the big question is at least to me, obviously this. When you break down the deaths, right? Because really
Yes.
death and hospitalization is all that really matter. How many people get coronavirus but don't have an effect isn't all that important.
I'm not fully on. I know what you're saying.
Because you experience how difficult it can
Because
be.
the morbidity of this thing has been underestimated. The injury from it, the misery from it has not even been discussed. What's discussed is death, which is low probability.
Don't you guys want to look at Texas? That was the wild card.
Not yet.
Okay. So the great question, of course, is if you look at this top 10 states
Yeah.
of death per million, because it's about death per million.
Yes.
What do you see? You see 7 out of 10 states are blue states, right?
With the highest death per million.
The highest death per million that
But they also have some of the greatest densities. They have big cities and things. That's why they're blue states.
Yes and no, because if you look at New York State and Florida State, almost same exact density. Same population, same density.
New York City got nailed. New York City is a unique thing. It's sort of an outlier.
Yeah, but if you start taking out the amount of people who died because of political mistakes, otherwise taking people
and how
out
about medical mismanagement, which is a big part of this
that
thing
as well.
right now. Yeah.
But medical mismanagement, you can say, goes across all states.
Yeah.
But specifically in New York City, you have to attribute a significant part of that based on the amount of old people who died in
nursing homes. Yep.
because of mistakes that the governor made.
I don't know that number, but I'll accept your statement.
But the question becomes...
Are you doing any videos on that?
No.
Okay.
No, this is just me kind of thinking
Okay.
about it. So the question becomes, do you think the lockdowns, because now instead of out being in the fresh air, the lockdowns themselves contributed to the higher death rates?
I've been making that case, not about higher death rates, but definitely the trend. Let's put it this way. At how many cases in the world so far? 150 million? So far, I've only seen one documented case of outdoor transmission. One.
Well, because the one case I know of is from Wuhan, which
From China.
Yeah, but
exactly.
we don't. That's not exactly a documented case.
You believe it or don't, it's the only one.
Right.
Everything else has been associated, speculated, maybe, and it's less than 10% of all
And
cases
we
that are
have
maybe
looked,
outdoor.
we have dissected millions
Right.
of cases.
No outdoor cases so far. Right. So no outdoor cases. They have also documented that something like 85% of all cases that they did document spread were in the home. We're here. Guess what happened to my house? My son got it.
Right.
I didn't give it to anybody else.
No, you're in a small, closed, the exact place you're not
Right.
supposed to be.
I've been making that case from the beginning. It's been concerning me. Let's put it that way. I don't. The pushback would be, well, we need people not to move around, right? If you move around, then there's going to be more spreading. Maybe not.
Not if you move around outside.
Not if you move around outside, which they tried to clamp down on, right? Which was one of the misadventures. The biggest misadventure was the schools.
But okay, so the next big question is, are you surprised at how quickly coronavirus became politicized?
I've never in my life imagined anything like that.
Okay, because this is what's become. It's become politicized.
It's so much so. Let me tell you what's happening at the very moment. At this very moment, I'm watching Merck develop an amazing antiviral drug that when I read the data, I think, oh my God, here it is. We got it. And their public-facing position on this is, we have to do our research. We can't really tell. We don't know. Here's the data, which are astonishing, but we have to finish our phase 3
Out
trials.
of an abundance of caution.
Yes.
Of caution.
Let's call it the hydroxychloroquine effect.
Right.
That's what that is.
So
now, I've never seen a drug companies usually are very much out and in front. They're cautionary and they've already qualified things, but when they're excited about something, when they're excited about something. I'm excited about this drug because I'm worried about the variants. I don't want a variant. And if that drug comes out in time, I'm going to stop worrying about the variants because this drug makes COVID a non-thing for younger people especially.
So when people ask me, well, I don't understand, why would, if it's so clear that these things like sitting outdoor at a restaurant or being at a park is not a vector of transmission,
right,
then why are Democrats pushing against it? They don't understand. And my answer is that this is a gift. This was the great, in fact, I think Pelosi said it, that coronavirus was a gift to the Democrats. What does the left want to do? The left wants to control your life as much as possible. Well, and this gave them that opportunity to do exactly that, to dictate to you how to live your life.
Let me soften your position a little bit because I'm a super moderate, right? I'm a super moderate, and I see excesses on all sides, on all things, all the time. And when I look at that behavior, which you're talking about, which I acknowledge is there, what I see is people who are gratified by telling people how to live, and people who want to be objects of that. Like they feel gratified by somebody telling them to lock down and stay in place. It's like it's exciting to them or something.
It's like a parent.
I don't know. It defies everything.
But
I
how
understand.
is that a softening of what I said? It's exactly what I said.
It's what you put a political and motivational state on it. I'm putting a satisfaction in doing these behaviors.
Yeah, but they only come from that satisfaction only comes from one side of the aisle.
But it's not a satisfaction based on anything political. I think it's something in them. It's something personality driven or something where it feels great. Like I talked to the governor of North Dakota, and he was going to have to put on a mask mandate, and it killed him. He said, my job is not to tell people how to live their life. I don't want to do that, but I think I'm going to have to. And we had a little talk about it, and he did it and took it off as soon as he could.
And what was the letter next to his name?
He's not an MD.
No, there's another letter next to a governor's name, R or D.
He's an R.
So it is
but I'm saying that's associative. I'm saying that's associative.
If you go through all of the governors who take the perspective of I would rather not dictate how you live your life, they will always have an R next to their names.
But I'm saying that there are constitutional qualities that are being exposed by this whole thing. You're saying there's political things, and you may be right. I'm not saying you're wrong. You may be right. I'm seeing a more human piece of this, where I want to go to my friends that want to lock down and keep their kids at home and shelter in place. Why? What does that do? I get to tell everybody and show everybody, and I'm part of the thing, and I'm participating. It's like, not really. I don't think that's really what's happening. It's more that I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't get the person who wants to tell them what to do. I don't get the person who wants to be told what to do.
I do get it. Look, again, it's if you ask people, are your political figures, do you look at them as a parent? Right? You will get very distinct answers from people on the right and on the left. People on the left will always say, yes, it's a father figure. It's a mother figure.
Is this documented somewhere? Is this your
No,
feeling?
This is my. This
Yeah,
is
okay,
more than
okay.
more. It's
All
more
right.
than a feeling, but
I know you do things very empirically. You go out and ask questions.
I would say if there is there may be data on it.
Yeah.
And if you ask people on the right, do you look at political figures as parents? They say, no, I have my own parents, or I am the parent.
That's interesting. But a lot of people,
and this all plays into what we're
but a lot
talking
of my
about.
friends that are on the left hate authority and hate society and hate America.
That's different.
But somebody telling somebody what to do is authority.
Yes, but they do want authority. No, they want authority.
Yeah.
They want a specific kind of authority. They look to everybody. Look, I always say that child rearing, people who child rear understand people because children don't differ that much from people. The way children are raised is very similar to how you work and lead people in general.
Of course. And it determines your personality structure.
We always crave and look to something bigger than us.
Yes,
right?
That's true.
And that's why when people look at religion and they say, well, okay, these idiots, look at they're just so focused ideologically on religion. Well, the same people are just as ideologically focused on something else. It could be environmentalism or something.
Right. It's a new religion. But here's what's interesting to me. The right was the one telling us how to live 5 or 6 years ago. It was the religious right telling people how they should live their lives. And then they became the ones that stopped doing that. All of a sudden, another group came in and started telling everybody how to live. It's so strange to me. It's so
there's
strange.
an ebb and flow.
There's an ebb and flow. I'm going to get a call up here. I'm going to get Joe Giannotti up here. There you are, Joe. Joe, I want to thank you for the graphs. How are you, sir?
You're quite welcome, Drew. You are very welcome.
What's the guy's name, the attorney?
Craig the lawyer.
Craig the lawyer. I said Greg the lawyer. Craig the lawyer. Thank you. That's on Twitter. You can follow him there.
Twitter feed, and I was just about to type a special thank you because he should get all the credit along with his incredible volunteers that have continued on the COVID tracking project after they finished on March 7th. They've been putting in incredible hard work, just putting in all the data daily, and then what I'm taking Craig's sheet, and I am building the graphs that you see there.
Yeah, but
eventually, what I'll do,
if anybody wants to see the sheets, they're about 30 pages long with about 600 numbers on them at least. And I'm like, Joe, geez, that's such a lot of work. But listen, what jumped out of it for you? What jumped out for you?
Well, what jumped out of me is if you look at the three states compared, if you look at Florida, Texas, and California compared to New York, they're dropping much quicker, which still leads me to believe there might be a meteorological, climatological factor involved.
Climatology. When we're a hammer, ladies and gentlemen, the whole world is a nail. So Joe is a meteorologist, so he's seeing and I think there's multiple factors, and I think meteorological may be one of them. I think one of the things the New York Magazine article discussed today which something I thought was courageous to discuss that is simply the truth, which is why Africa, aside from the meteorological phenomena, which Joe can address, the average age of the population is like 17. So when you're that young, you're not going to even be documented as having COVID, and there is no obesity.
Right.
And that's it.
That goes along with no food.
That's the end of it. But Joe, what's going on in Africa meteorologically that can help substantiate your theory?
I don't know. It's a great question. I see the numbers because one thing you'll notice with New York after they had and I'm glad that we've done this. I broke it down from November 1st to March 15th because I wanted to show the spike during the holidays, the first spike, then the second spike before the drop down.
Yeah.
So one thing that I noticed. One thing that I noticed, Drew, is in particular, if you look at New York, this is why I think climatologically speaking, if you look at New York, we have flatlined essentially since February 14th.
Yeah, since it got cold, since you started snowing.
Right, exactly, and we started snowing just after Super Bowl, and we had snow on the ground for 25 straight days.
I'm looking at hospitalization and deaths, so that has continued to fall. Interestingly.
That is because I think doctors have a better handle. Doctors, especially in New York, because they were battered.
Yeah, that's interesting. Hang on, I got to interrupt you because Andrew Ashkashvili is yelling at me repeatedly, and I got to get his statement out here. Here it is. The UFC announced a fight in April will be in Florida, indoors at 100% capacity with 15,000 fans. Texas Rangers, full stadium in 3 weeks for baseball. Well, the indoor arena with the octagon is the one to watch. The outdoor baseball stadium, not going to be a problem. We know that. So it's interesting.
That will be a huge test.
Yeah.
But you say that. We know that.
We believe that. I believe that.
No, I agree. But if you ask Fauci and the Democrats, they do not believe that.
But
Look, what did Biden just say? He said that in July, for 4th of July, we can maybe get together out with small group of people.
Right.
No, by July, we should have block parties.
Well, let me just say that Fauci has a different job than Democrats. Fauci has to worry about everything. That's his job. And so he's worrying about variants right now. I don't think public leaders should be worrying about variants. That's his job. And when it really gets to be a significant problem, when he's got to say, hey, man, pull the warning switch, then they should pull the warning switch. Otherwise, they should be dampening the mental health pandemic that they've caused.
No, they should worry about variants, but what they should be focusing on is the data that's coming out about the variants and about the vaccines, and every single study they've shown has shown it's looking good.
Yes, it does.
But if you read the New York Times article that talks about should we wear masks after we have the vaccine, they conveniently leave these things out. They leave out the study that Pfizer did in Israel that shows you don't transmit it after you have it, which is the key.
That
came
out
key
last
for
night.
all of this.
By the way, 96% no asymptomatic, 86% no asymptomatic
that is an
transmission.
insanely high
I know,
number.
it is insane.
This should be trumped on the front page of the New York Times, but it's not.
Joe?
Isn't the South African variant now the dominant variant in Florida?
No, I think it's the
or
UK.
I'm sorry, the British one, the B117.
117 is dominant, but it's going to be dominant. It's more transmissible, so it's going to dominate. That's how it works. But the 1351 is the one I worry about.
But one thing I noticed in the data,
which is Brazil,
is that in the last 4 weeks, the numbers have gone down from 10,000 a day. Now they're at 4,000 a day, which is around the November 1st level.
Yes. So here's what I conclude from that. Two things: the virus goes up, the virus goes down. That's all I know. I don't know why. I don't know where. It goes up, it goes down, and there are probably multiple factors contributing to that, but mostly it's the virus doing what the virus does. Yeah. Would you agree with that?
No, I do agree.
And we've sort of known that at the beginning. Remember, the idea was to flatten the curve for 2 weeks because it's going to do what it's going to do. Maybe we can get down for a couple of weeks.
Do you remember those? Do you remember flatten the curve? Do you remember people talking about flatten the curve?
2 weeks to flatten the curve.
How quaint.
I know.
How quaint that was.
2 weeks.
By the way, on the Brazil variant, important to note.
Joe, I'm going to put you back in the audience, okay, man?
Great, thanks.
All right, buddy.
Have a great night.
Thank you again, buddy.
That while the vaccine has shown that it actually doesn't have an effect.
Some activity, yeah.
But the problem is the reason why the vaccine isn't working in Brazil because the dominant vaccine in Brazil is the Chinese vaccine.
I did not know that.
The most people who've taken the vaccine in Brazil are taking. Now, would you trust the Chinese? It probably is lead based. Okay, I would not trust the Chinese vaccine.
If you gave me a choice, I would leave out the Russian and the Chinese vaccines. I would leave those off.
Yes,
personally.
I might actually agree with Farrakhan for the first time, saying it is a vial of death to take the Chinese vaccine.
Is Mindy Horowitz somebody related to you?
I have heard of her, yes.
Should I take her call?
Oh my God, we have a huge crowd on Clubhouse.
I know.
Hi,
you're just
everybody.
noticing? And by the way, everyone who comes on Clubhouse,
still scrolling.
you are agreeing to be on the stream here. We're doing live on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Mindy.
Hi.
Hi there. Are you related to Ami?
I am related to him. I am his wife.
Oh, that Mindy. What's going on? What's up?
I saw that you were talking on Clubhouse. It's actually the second day that I've been on Clubhouse. I'm like, let me see what Dr. Drew is saying. And then lo and behold, there's my husband talking.
Did you know he was coming here and going to come out to dinner with me?
No.
Well,
I knew he was having dinner with you, but I didn't know he was going to be speaking with you.
We just folded it all in since I got him to Pasadena. I got him on the show.
And I don't know why are you on I didn't know you were on Clubhouse.
Uh-oh.
She didn't know you wanted dinner with me. Why are you? He's like, how dare you be on Clubhouse?
How are you holding this information back from me?
It's her second day, she said.
I wanted to. You guys just touched on it a little bit, and something that I talked to Ami about, and I wanted to hear you maybe go on a little bit more about people transmitting the virus after they've been vaccinated, because I keep hearing anecdotes of people seeing loved ones who have been vaccinated and then coming down with the virus, maybe a milder case, but they're still getting it. And I don't know. I just want to hear from your expert opinion what you think about that.
All I know is that yesterday Pfizer came out with data that said 86% protection against asymptomatic transmission. I say that's pretty damn good data. I'm going to guess.
And what's the number for transmission of
96%?
No. From a regular flu vaccine.
Oh,
it's in the 60s, right?
Well, everything's in the 60s and 70s.
So
with
to
the
give you
regular flu
perspective,
vaccine.
how high 85% is.
Yeah, no, we're getting used to numbers with this vaccine that are record-breaking across the board. But I'm suspicious. First of all, the press is interested. The press has been reprehensible from the beginning on this story. Since last February, the words have been grim, staggering. Well, give me some other words. Grim and staggering are the ones that
Terrifying.
Terrifying.
Devastating.
Catastrophic. Devastating. These are the words they're using. They're trying to get more panicky words involved because they can't think of things to make it sound worse. And anything that calls into question our doing well, they're running to. Draconian, yeah.
Draconian.
So, I think I've been using that one more than they have. But so, these are interesting stories. There's a half a dozen or so. There easily could be an association rather than a causation. In other words, they just happened to be coming down, but with COVID at the time in which they were visited by somebody who had been vaccinated. The more interesting thing is that the person who's been vaccinated didn't get COVID. Because if the person they're visiting is coming down with COVID, theoretically, they could be contagious. So the causation is not there, number one. Let's see, number two. Number two, there are cases now of people getting COVID in the first week after they were vaccinated. So somebody may actually be getting COVID and then visiting their loved ones. So I'd like to know in those cases where the loved ones got it, did that person also come down with COVID? Now, they may have gotten it from the loved one, or they may have been coming down with it already, or gotten it right after exposure with the vaccine. But that makes more sense to me because you're not really very well protected in that first week.
Or they had it, got the vaccine.
Before the vaccine.
Yep. That actually seems like a more likely scenario.
Mindy, the point is there are many, many other possibilities than somehow they produce something that they don't produce. And if it's the mRNA virus, it makes absolutely no biological sense. You're producing spike proteins. How could spike proteins infect somebody?
Yeah, honey, spike proteins.
You're not producing a virus, so it just doesn't.
No, I'm not saying. Yeah, I'm not saying that the vaccine was the cause of the loved ones getting coronavirus. It's more that the loved one who was vaccinated was exposed somewhere, didn't know that they had it because they were asymptomatic, and then passed it on to someone else.
Unlikely, possible, but unlikely.
Yeah, more likely they got it before they got the vaccine,
or the loved one was coming down with it. The more
Before
interesting thing is that the vaccinated person didn't get it from the loved one who's coming down with it, which is kind of interesting. So there's many ways to look at that. I'm sure they're studying those people. It just, I mean, you're not, all those great numbers, 96%, 86%, are 2 weeks after the second vaccine. So everything else is sort of everything else. And we're going to be all over the map with it, I suspect. Okay, Mindy.
All right.
Bye, honey. I'll talk to you later.
Have a good dinner. Enjoy.
Thank
Take
you.
care of my husband.
I will.
Bye.
I promise. I'll make sure he's more transparent with you. Where is she right now?
In New York.
In New York. So, and how long are you out here for?
Oops.
Till Thursday.
Till Thursday.
Then we're going to Mexico for 10 days.
I hope you're meeting Mindy down there.
Oh, man, I should not have said that on the air.
Where are you guys going?
We are going to a Passover resort near Cancun.
Oh,
Yeah, well, mention who's in the room.
Who's in the room?
Besides you and me and.
Oh, my mother is in the room. Hi,
She is?
Emma.
Does your mother have a name?
Her name is Ricky.
Ricky.
Horowitz.
Ricky's here. She's watching the screen, and
she
I nearly
seems
tripped
impressed.
over her.
Yeah, she
but
likes all your technology.
Yeah, she's
services.
watching very carefully.
This is a very impressive
She's
setting.
going to be running
I
the
know.
show next
It's very
week.
nice. This is what COVID did to us. Drove us home and set up a studio. Layla, thanks for calling.
Hi, Dr. Drew. Thank you for taking me on the stage.
You betcha.
I've been have all your books and been a fan for years. So I do have a quick question. So with all the COVID talk and everything that's going on currently, how is the opioid epidemic? I know that's not really talked about as much, at least from what I see in the news lately. So I was saying, is there still the numbers rising? What's your thoughts on that? Are you still involved with that initiative, and what's going on with the addiction and opioid epidemic? Thank you.
So I'm going to put you back in the audience because that's a long answer, okay?
Can I add?
Oh, she
can
turned
I
her
add
mic off.
something to-
Absolutely.
Okay.
Can I,
Absolutely.
can I
Okay,
add
good,
an
thank
addendum
you.
to that question?
Please.
So, and also, do we have the final numbers on 2020 on excess opiate deaths?
No, we don't. We generally, I can tell you, in the last 12 months, 90,000 dead. 90,000.
So we know, but we know what 20.
Generally
we
speaking.
normally- okay, so
yeah, generally,
Do we have an idea of what 2020 is?
It's accelerated. It's accelerated during 2020. But the problem is there's so many other mental health deaths mixed in with it: alcohol, suicide. I mean, it's out of control. It's going to rival the COVID numbers when we're all done here. It for sure is.
That is
the
unbelievable.
most serious stuff has been happening in young and middle adolescents, where the hospital beds in New York, your state, are full. You can't get a hospital bed for an adolescent right now, period, end.
So sad.
When I talk to my adolescent psychiatry friends, I go, what are you seeing? Anxiety, depression, anxiety, depression, anxiety, depression,
Not
anxiety,
coronavirus.
depression, anxiety, depression, anxiety, depression, anxiety, depression. These kids are devastated by this. Now, the opiates are way up. They're all on the streets. They're all also using meth, and most of them are here in California. In California, not all of them, but they're gravitate here because in California, we have made using legal, trafficking legal, and you can steal up to $900 a day to support your habit. That's California. Welcome. So my patients are going to come. They want to do drugs, and this is the place to do it.
They live in their
And you'll get a citation. You can tear it up, and that's the end of it if you get caught. That's
By the
it.
way, do you want to start having a little battle here and comparing how stupid your city is versus how stupid my city is and see which is worse?
New
My
York-
city rivals your stupidity of city.
New York had always, at least for the last, I'd say 5 years, had been really doing, I wouldn't say an admirable job, but an okay job with homelessness. They really were.
Really?
They were getting there. Yeah.
No. No.
No. Now it's outrageous.
No, last 5 years. No, terrible job.
Why? What
In
would
fact,
you say?
Well, because again, anecdotally, you've seen over the past 5 years.
Well, now
it has
it's unbelievable.
Take coronavirus out of the equation.
Okay.
Homelessness and violence committed by homeless people has been spiking since really over. I would say over the last 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
Since
I would agree.
de Blasio took over as mayor.
Yeah.
They have set forth policies which, like here, has attracted homeless people to New York City and has allowed them to do essentially run free as they now. And on top now, coronavirus has accelerated that, and then their policies have compounded that by, for example, allowing them to live in these luxury hotels throughout New York City.
Okay. So see what was happening before coronavirus, which is the luxury hotel thing, came in during coronavirus.
That was coronavirus, correct?
Yeah. Before that, they were giving people vouchers to go. I think it's on Randall's Island. They have a large structure there, and then people were spending the night on Randall's Island and getting services. And so, if you notice, I really paid careful attention to what was going on. The on the street numbers were dropping. I could see it, and the ones that were on the street were the ones that couldn't even get in the subway and go to Randall's Island. They were really bad, and they were getting picked up and going to the hospital. And just the idea that somebody came along, because I had cops take some along. Some people that were suffering. I just said, "You got to let's go. Come, we got to get this guy," and they would. In California, you can't touch them. So if they were literally freezing to death on the street, turning into an icicle, you couldn't touch them.
You're telling me the police would take the homeless person and move them off the street
in New York?
in New York?
If they were in trouble. Yeah, like I'm a doctor saying, hey, man, this thing has to go to the hospital.
All homeless people are in trouble.
Trouble where they need evaluation, they'd be seen, they'd be
I'll
taken.
tell you a story.
Here, they won't even do that.
Right. So I'll tell you a story.
Yeah.
So about 5 years ago, there was a new homeless guy who moved in. And by the way, anecdotally, I've seen the opposite. I've seen homeless people.
Have you gone down, look at what's on the streets here compared to New York? Have you seen the tent cities?
Yeah, of course. Well, I see people have full offices under the freeways.
Yeah.
One guy has a lawnmower and a garden.
It's bad. It's bad.
So cool.
But there was a homeless guy who was a new homeless guy whose face I recognized, who was being particularly aggressive since he came in.
Yeah.
And then one night I saw him physically harass, nearly attack a woman who was crying on the corner because he was standing over her. He was probably 6'4", a large man, and yelling that he was going to rape her and he was going to kill her, and she was lying there crying. And me and 2 other guys grabbed him, and we held him, and we did essentially a citizen's arrest, and we called the police. The police come, and he starts cursing the police. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to murder you. I figured, okay, this guy's going to jail. The police officer said to me, we can't touch him. Nothing we can do.
Well, that's here.
Unless
Same
he
thing
physically does something.
Yeah.
Physically.
So it's the same
we
thing
can't
here.
touch him.
It's the same thing here. You have to say, I'm going to kill myself. You have to say, I have a plan to kill somebody else. Here's how I'm going to do it, and I'm ready to go. We have to. And somebody said, not all homeless people are bad. Of course not. They're If they were well, they'd be wonderful, and people like me know how to make them well, and that's what's so sad. In their diseases, they can do bad things, and it's a brain disorder. Their brain is disordered and can be restored to some degree of health. I know exactly. I worked for 30 years doing that. It's really so heartbreaking as someone who knows how to make them better, looking at that. The reason it's the way it is, we have no gravely disabled, we have no conservatorships, we have no psychiatric beds, we have no residential beds, we don't have enough psychiatrists, and we don't have, we have the Lantern of Petra Short, which has now been interpreted as only, like we said, harm to self or other. I mean, there's just so many laws that need to change.
So here's a question.
Yeah.
How many homeless people are in this country?
I just know about California, Los Angeles.
Let's take Los Angeles.
110,000. Something like
110,000. Yeah. It seems to, and how many beds does a large hospital hold?
Large psychiatric hospital?
Any, yeah. So let's say
the large psych would be 120, 150
people. Yeah. Okay. So my question is,
where would they go?
No. My question is, why can't we decide? If you look at the amount of expense it costs to take care of homeless people, the amount of expense it costs when homeless people commit crimes, the amount of time.
Oh, they would save money if they took care of them.
So why don't we build hospitals? Just spend the money to build psychiatric hospitals where people can take care of them. Not people think of psychiatric hospitals as one flew of the cuckoo's nest.
No, not that. Beautiful living environments,
with
gardens,
people who would take care of them.
Yes, real modern psychiatric care.
Why can't
do you know why?
Because we can't institutionalize. We can't force institutionalize them.
That's what I said with the gravely disabled and the conservatorship. None of the laws allow you to do that. But there's a bigger problem.
Yeah. We
can't fund it. You ever heard of the IMD exclusion?
No.
You need to read about this.
You mean legally we can't fund it?
The original Medicare, Medi-Cal legislation excluded institutions for mental disorders. Excluded. Made it illegal to cover because the Constitution doesn't say that the federal government should be responsible for mental health care. That should go to the states, which is why we had state hospitals. And we dismantled those and threw all those patients into the street, the prisons, and the nursing homes, death.
But we can change that
with laws. But we can reverse the IMD exclusion.
We could probably change the executive order.
No, it's bigger than that apparently, because I went to the White House and I made the case, and they were thinking about it, but they couldn't get it done. So you need legislation. You need to overturn the IMD exclusion, which immediately there will be hospitals built immediately, because now there's resources to treat these people.
If you want to find an issue that you can use to be a bipartisan issue,
this is it, right?
Both sides together.
I'm thinking of running for governor in California just because I know what to do and I feel like I have to do something. I'm seriously thinking about it. I'm not seriously thinking about it. I'm contemplating it. I'm in the contemplative phase because I feel like I have to do something. I know exactly how to fix this.
This issue alone might be enough to get you over the hump. This issue alone.
That scares me. I'm not sure I want that job.
Promise you one thing.
What job do you want?
If you become governor,
what do you want?
I don't want any. Believe me, I don't want any job in the state of California politically. I want you to rebuild what Governor Schwarzenegger did when he built that outdoor cigar tent.
You know where that was?
No.
Do you know where that was?
No.
It was in the Hyatt across the street from the governor's. He never.
It wasn't on the ground?
He never
I thought
went.
he had a tent on the ground.
No, it was in the Hyatt because I stayed at that hotel and they went, this is where he had his cigar tent. And he never went in the governor's mansion. He didn't like it. And the Hyatt is directly across the street from his office.
I can live with that.
So, but I'm not Schwarzenegger. So, Layla, I'm sorry. We got off a little bit. This is all related topics, but trust me, the opiate thing is really out of control right now. The good news is that the physician's prescribing has been a little more sane. We have harm avoidance, maintenance, replacement therapies that are widely available now. Lots of doctors that can use it. Unfortunately, many of these physicians don't really know what they're doing. They don't understand addiction. They've never really treated addiction. But for some people, that might be a life-saving intervention or give us the opportunity.
Are you allowed to be up here?
There's Rex. I've been trying to get him on camera forever. And now, on Ami's behalf, he's here.
He likes Ami.
Somebody let him out of his crate.
He wants to talk.
Okay, well, here he is.
Just don't lick my face. That's all I have.
He's a face licker, I assure you.
I know.
All right, Rex, thank you for making an appearance here. So I want to really hope we answer Layla's question. Let me in fact also, by the way, I believe this to my soul, that these policies, all of them, are incredibly racist. Incredibly. Just look at who bears the burden of it. Do you need to see anything else?
No.
Just take a look around. Now, if you talk about systemic racism, every damn one of these policies has massive racism woven into it, intentionally or otherwise. Now, I don't care who intended it or didn't intend it. Take a look around and you see what's happening. Undo it. Make it better.
What about all these crime laws? Who do you think that affects more than anybody else?
Oh, well, of course, but then that's getting into
but it's the same. It's all built. It's woven. It's the same. Weaving the same basket.
Yeah, probably. It's just it's ill-fated good intentions. And please, everybody, you say you want to believe in science because of COVID, even though nobody's listening to science. Listen to clinical science when it comes to the open air asylums we've created and the mental illness and the opiate addiction that Layla wanted to hear about. It is uncanny and it is dangerous, and it is we're going about it all wrong, everything wrong about it. I am not saying pick people up and put them in a psychiatric hospital. I'm not saying that. I'm saying create high every other country on earth does this, high-end institutions for people where they want to go, and then motivate them to go there. That's all I'm saying. So hope that answers it, Layla. I'm sorry that I got so long-winded about that. This is Zed. Let me see if I can get him up there. Oh, hey,
how you doing?
Hey, Zed. I'm sorry. I get all emotional about the homeless and opiate thing because it's, again, so disturbing to me. It's like being a surgeon and seeing the thing you can fix to whatever you look, and then nobody lets you go fix it. It's like it's deeply,
for sure,
deeply troubling. Let me take my sweater off. I'm too hot.
Yeah, are we? Do we want to stay on the COVID topic, or do we want to go elsewhere?
Yeah, whatever you want to talk about. And by the way, let me repeat that we're on Clubhouse. And for those of you that raise your hand and want to come on, you'll also be streamed on YouTube, not Periscope, evidently.
So you can see it
Twitch,
later on YouTube and Facebook
and Twitch.
All
right, Zed, what's up?
Yeah, so it's one of those things where I've been, taking precautions and living my life like I've, always done to an aspect, and my grandmother is just still deeply worried and scared. And, I'm trying to, I worry about her mental health and enjoying life and being that she's older. And,
is she vaccinated? Is she vaccinated?
Yeah, she is.
Are you?
And restaurants just opened up in Oregon. And I still have some problems like getting her to go out. And I don't know. I was just wondering if maybe, any advice you would have for young people like myself that just simply want to take their parents out to dinner or grandparents or whatever, and just
so
what that's like. And
how old is she?
In her 70s.
And are you vaccinated?
I am not.
And what's the situation in the locality where you guys are going to go out? What's the caseload?
Sorry, could you define that a little bit differently?
Where are you going to be taking her out? Where would that be?
Just literally just a restaurant.
The city.
What city? I beg your pardon. What city?
Oh, I'm in Oregon. I'm in Beaverton, which is near Portland.
Oh, I'm not going to be able to get those numbers. I'm guessing in the suburbs generally it's very low. I'm guessing there are very few cases out there. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
Okay. So if we had her wear a mask, if we use her Halodyne, which I'm saying reduces transmission, if we keep social distancing and put 2 masks on her and 2 masks on you, and we know that up in that region there are no variants, so her vaccine.
Yeah, but how do you convince somebody who's scared to death after all the bad news we've had and the worry?
I know.
Everybody's paralyzed.
They're giving people agoraphobia. I talked to somebody today who was afraid to go out in the dark. They just couldn't do it.
But why does she need to wear? If she
doesn't need to. She doesn't need to.
To be clear, she doesn't need to wear a mask.
Vaccine.
She's essentially bulletproof.
She's bulletproof. But I'm trying to think of ways he can sort of. If she can learn to tolerate, it's like exposure therapy. If she can learn to tolerate being out there and not being freaked out, she'll be able to be out there more or less freaked out.
Zed, I'm sorry, what's your name again?
Zed.
Zed, I mean, if you sat with your grandmother and showed her the data on how she essentially is bulletproof from being vaccinated, and that the chance of her getting it is so low as to be non-existent, although it's not non-existent, but it's that low.
And I would say, and we'll wear a mask, and we'll do this, and we'll do that, we'll do all these things.
Can you not sit down with her and walk her through the data? Will the data help, or it's just it's an emotional connection?
Yeah, I think the essence of my question is not necessarily related to myself, but others in my position of wanting to, have their grandparents or parents, exist actually more in the world and just relax,
Yeah. I mean, exposure, that's it. I don't mean exposure to the virus.
Yeah.
I mean exposure to the experience of being out and feeling secure. It's any phobic behavior, exposure is what people need. It's building resilience. It's not hiding. To me, again, when I think of many of the misadventures, and by the way, we were sort of taking aim at shelter in place and lockdowns and stuff. I went along with it. I felt like it was my civic duty. I had leaders in tough positions that were figuring out, they were responding to worst case scenarios. Okay, I'm going to go along.
I mean, at the
But
time
you
it
still
sounded
caught it.
right.
It did not sound right to me at all.
It did. Okay, it
not
sounded
at
right
all.
to me.
And you
Okay.
caught it, though. You caught the disease.
Right, in spite of the lockdowns and the masks. But I said I think this is excessive, but I think we all have to go along with this. We as good citizens, we need to participate. But then we kept going and going and going for no good reason. I'm like, Jesus. What was my point?
What was the turning point where you changed kind of your position?
I believe, look, I talked to a guy named Dr. Brilliant, who's a famous viral
Dr.
study.
Larry Brilliant.
And Dr. Brilliant said...
Come on, that's his real name?
Lawrence Brilliant. And he was brilliant.
He was good.
And he said, you know what? One of the reasons you don't need to do lockdowns and the
Didn't
states...
he cure smallpox?
Yeah, he's a big smallpox guy. And one of the reasons you don't need to do lockdowns, and the reason Florida didn't need a lockdown, is because when things start to get bad, people naturally reduce their social interaction. We are not dumb. We don't have to have somebody tell us to do that. We start doing things to mitigate automatically. This has been shown, he said, in all pandemics. People immediately start reducing social contacts. They don't go to a big event. They do the right thing without any mandates, without a government telling them to do it. So he felt that that was excessive for that reason. So I never said mask. You shouldn't wear a mask. You should wear a mask. You should do anything that might work. Why not? Anything that might work and helps.
Bring your
we
eye
should
wand.
do it.
Get her an eye wand.
I use UVC light. I use povidone. I do all this stuff.
Bring some Clorox wipes.
And I plan to keep doing it because I think that. Hi, Rex. What? Can you guys see Rex's head? There's Rex. Hi. Oh, you want to see the UVC light? Okay.
Yeah, he likes it.
Okay.
It's approved.
Eye wand, everybody. Rex likes the eye wand.
But doesn't Florida's not, at the end of the day, doesn't Florida at the end of the day show who was right and who was wrong? Don't we have enough data to know
It just
who was
happened
right and who was wrong?
that my son got COVID from me. And he was sick for 3 days, and then he was pissed. Like, I've been in lockdown for 9 months for this.
This is what I got.
And so he got in his
didn't
car.
go out for 9 months.
He got in his car and he drove across country, like right away.
Really?
Yeah. And he reported back that there was social distancing and mask wearing going in the open states.
Yeah.
At the same level as the closed states.
Yes.
And so that's my point. People, because they knew that we were in the middle
We're
of a big
adults.
surge at that time, and people behave themselves. People do what they're supposed to do. So that's part of the reason the virus goes down. But that's not the totality of the reason. To behave as though we want to believe we have control over this damn thing. We want to believe that, right? It makes us feel better. We don't.
Right.
We can do things to kind of mitigate. But probably the total number, probably going to be the same no matter what we do until we vaccinate. Vaccine will really change the deal.
Now, it is changing. It is changing.
Of course. And maybe you can talk to me about the Israel numbers. They seem controversial to me. I can't quite figure them out, but you can tell me about them. But the other thing is, if we lock down before there were any cases, or before we got to 1% penetrance, maybe that would have worked. But the whole world would have had to have done it together, because still people would have come in and stuff would have happened. It would have gotten going again. So it doesn't make sense to me to try to take it to zero. It's never going to zero. Literally never. This is going to be an endemic virus that we will have to take vaccines for on a regular basis, because it's going to be around. It just is.
So when I asked people, I went on the street and I was asking people, how long should we lock down for?
Yeah. Is that what you did on a video?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait.
And
Is that up now?
It's already up.
Where do they go?
They can go to Daily Wire YouTube.
Okay.
They can find it there.
So Avi went around.
What was that? Daily Wire?
Daily Wire.
YouTube.
That's Ben Shapiro's outfit.
So you did a video for them
Yeah, I did a video for them.
on New York City?
In New York City.
Okay.
And it wasn't specifically about the lockdown, but it was one of the components of the idea of the video was how is Biden leftist enough, and how left does the left want to go? So everything was, look at that.
Hey, I'm responding to somebody on the restream. Go ahead.
So one of the questions I asked was, how long should we be locked down for?
Yeah.
And
did you select? Were you targeting certain kinds of people or anything?
Everybody,
just everybody.
Every
Okay.
random. And I know I
New York
self-selected in the sense that it was.
And by the way, I feel bad for you in New York City now. There's nobody to talk to.
What do you mean?
Your videos were always very rich with lots of people. You could interview lots of people. Now
there's still tons of people. There always were.
We walked around a couple weeks ago and we're sort of surprised.
Are we living in two different New York City?
We walked through Times Square.
Keep in mind, you have moved away from normal New York into the new.
No,
weird
I
I went to the Upper
I
West Side and had dinner.
Yeah?
But I heard the homeless situation was kind of rough up there.
which it is.
Yeah.
You're right though. We're in a bubble a little bit. Yeah.
So,
But we always immediately go straight across.
I can't
our
find your
first
stuff
move
on
is
the
to go
Daily
across
Wire.
town
To
get into it. We want to be in it.
What's the link to your Daily Wire? I'm on the Daily Wire, but I can't.
So you got to go to the Daily Wire's YouTube.
Oh, okay.
I sent you. I think you have a link. I think I texted you a link.
Oh, okay.
I think I texted.
I've got that.
But one of the questions I asked was, it was connected to a question of whether or not we should lock down for climate change, right? Because climate change is a more existential threat than the coronavirus to them, and should we lock down on climate change? And of course, they all said a minimum of a year lockdown. Minimum of a year
from now.
Yes. And then they went on to say, but we should still have been locked down from the beginning of the coronavirus until now. So they wanted to be locked down this entire time.
So now you're again, which kind of makes sense to me given how clobbered New York City was, right? People were freaked out.
Yeah, New York was freaked out.
We came out a couple times
If
after
you walked around Los Angeles
Yeah.
and asked the same question to the people of the same political persuasion, you'll get the same.
Well, what do you mean same place? I thought you just asked anybody.
Yeah, but I'm in the East Village, so I self-selected the left.
Okay, all right. So you tell me. That's what I asked you. Did you
I
select
said
these
that.
people?
I said yes.
Now, let me ask you something. People are complaining that we're talking politics here. Is this a political conversation?
No,
I'm
I don't think it's political at all.
I'm actively trying to avoid politics.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
I'm
fine.
pushing you out of that.
Well, you should have told me that before we got on.
Well, I know that's hard for you. So
I could have done that.
Well, you're part of your color. You know what I mean. Comes with the political
Yes, but
conversation.
I could be non-political.
Okay, good. All right.
You want to talk Howard Stern?
Howard seems so freaked out by the virus. It's
Really?
hard for me to hear.
I missed that part of it.
It's hard for me
He's
to listen.
insane.
Poor-
He's insane.
What happened to poor Howard?
Well, you know that he's always had these like weird phobias. So
Yeah,
this thing has played right into all of his phobias.
Yeah, it has.
Well,
I'm afraid.
all I can think, okay, he's a freak, fine, but his poor wife.
I know.
She has to go along with this.
I know.
And he keeps saying on the air, "Oh no, she likes this lockdown." I'm like, you clearly
Maybe she
live-
does. I mean,
no
because of the cats
way,
and everything.
shape, or form.
It's
does
hard
she
to
wanna be
imagine.
locked down.
No, I'm a little surprised that Robin doesn't give him more shit about it.
Look, something's going on there.
Well, I think I'm going to go back and do the after. What do they call the
After show,
Yeah,
which I'm banned from.
Yeah, you are.
Yes.
Why? You find out?
I did find out. Yeah. So I don't know if any of you guys know about this, but there's a show called. Is it called the After? What's it called?
It's not. We're not getting it right. It's
the after party.
I call it the after show always, but it's the. Well, you know what we're talking about. 1 o'clock to the show that Gary and John do.
Gary and John.
It's the show that follows Stern.
Yeah.
Correct. And all they do is talk about Howard Stern.
Yeah.
Which, by the way,
or whatever happened.
Which we love doing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was a guest and early on, and then it went well, and the reaction was tremendous, and they got more social media engagement out of that than they normally get. And then I wasn't asked back for a while, and I never pushed or even asked. And after a while, I was like, "Hey, I'd love to come back on the show. I don't have to promote anything. I just want to come on." And they kept pushing me back.
Well, I remember when that was all going on.
And then one of the producers told me,
Shuley.
I won't say what producer, but one of the producers of the show told me that John Hine refused to have me on because when I would go on, so I would.
Maybe I'm going to get screwed because I'm your friend.
Yeah, I would be careful. I would be careful.
Oh, Susan. Go ahead.
But so because I'm a fan of the show, and I get thank God I get a lot of national media attention. I'm on a lot of national shows.
Yeah.
I would generally throw a Howard Stern reference.
Yes.
Whenever I was on.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And it was fun. I didn't necessarily need it to
Just
be on the Howard
a
Stern
Baba
show.
Booey or something.
Yeah, but they would oftentimes put it on the reference because it was fun. It was a national show, and. So the reference that I was doing at a certain point, for those who are Howard Stern fans, was hit him with the Hine.
Oh no!
Now, which is an homage.
Yes, he doesn't like it that way though.
So here's but that's what's so crazy.
Yes,
it's not about he's so narcissistic. He thinks that him and Hine is about him. It's not. It's an homage to the show. But he is so narcissistic and thinking that it's an attack on him.
What if I was saying hit him with a Horowitz? You would it would have something to do with you.
No, not really.
Now, why do I have an alarm? The alarm was to
Everybody's
remind
phones
me
are going
to.
off in here today.
No, the alarm was to remind me to let the dog out of the crate.
I got him out.
In
I
any
see
case,
that. We know that.
I was told by this producer who should not be named that he took such personal offense, had such animus.
You should send him a note
toward-
apologizing.
I don't want. Why would I apologize for what?
Tell me
for
something.
for trying
Tell
to
me
raise the
something.
profile of the
now,
show.
Now I know why we get along so well, because you're reminding me of Corolla right now. He has not alienated. He's accidentally lost friends because of his mouth. And I know and not bad stuff,
right?
Just things that get misinterpreted, much like this. And I go to him, I go, look, we got to get you, like, him and David Allen Greer are ruptured, and I go like, we got to get you guys back together. He's like, fuck it, screw it. And I'm like,
he's right. Dale Allen Greer is a piece of crap. I'm sorry. Dale Allen Greer doesn't want to talk to him because of his politics. Screw David Allen Greer. He's not even funny.
Do you understand how much you're like? That's exactly what I get from him.
Oh,
I think
my
we need to be all human beings here. We need to let go of the politics.
Great. So
all
David
sides.
Allen Greer can apologize to Adam, and I'm sure Adam will say, "Hey, David,
What would
water
do
the bridge."
if Adam apologized first? If it healed
For
the
what?
relationship?
For what?
To heal the relationship, nothing else. Just I'm sorry I offended you. I'm sorry I said something
I don't know David Allen Greer. I don't know him at all, other than the fact he's not funny. But I'll tell you this: that if I would almost get, look, I would love to be wrong about this.
Yeah.
But I would bet if you went to David Allen Greer and said, David Allen Greer, Adam would like to apologize.
Yes.
David Allen Greer would say to you, I'm not interested.
Well, it's worse. Because for some reason, I love Dag too, and I've seen him in New York. We've spent time together, and all of a sudden I was out. I don't know, it has something to do with Adam. Just because I'm working with him.
Of course it has something to do with that.
It might have been something I said. I don't know. And every attempt I've made an overture to make amends or whatever it is I need to do to help heal my relationship with him, so then I can start to work on Adam.
Well, he also mocks you on Twitter, so I don't think maybe it's ever going to happen. So
whatever. I look, he does that because I'm making overtures, and that's part of the pushing back. So if I would love to know if I had done something to offend him, though, so at least I can correct course. But be that as it may, there we are. Some people, I don't have any problem apologizing for stuff, even if I don't think I did it, if it helps heal relationships.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying being passive aggressive, I'm saying trying to make things right.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I am happy to make things right. You just have to explain to me what I did wrong to make it right. That's all,
Woo!
So
okay,
yeah,
let's get some more guests in here. This is Tamara. Anxious to talk to Tamara. Those of you in the Clubhouse, thank you for joining us, and we are bringing people up from the audience here if they raise their hand, and they get to go on this stream that we're putting out simultaneously on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. Hi, Tamara.
It used to be Periscope, but we're not.
Hi, guys.
Hey there.
So, one quick question and a comment.
Please. Why don't you make the comment first? Make a comment, and then we'll do the question. How about that?
So earlier I heard you guys kind of speak around some data with like other countries and continents. I didn't catch all of it. I wanted to understand a little bit more about what you guys were seeing in Africa versus like the U.S.
Yeah.
Maybe what are some.
So Tamara, what I was referencing was a couple of things. I was referencing some data I've been watching and been trying to make sense of, and I said it got coalesced yesterday in a New York Magazine article by a guy named Wallace Wells, where he tries to figure out what leadership decisions, what characteristics of a country or society or what they did led to success in the COVID. And the only thing he really found was that Asian countries generally did better, and that Africa did exceedingly well because the average age is something like 17 and there's no obesity. So if you're not old and you're not fat, you won't even notice you had COVID for the most part. And so that's what he was commenting on in that article. So I recommend you read the article. It's available online.
You ever look at the obituaries in the New York Times on coronavirus? I do.
And?
I find it very interesting.
Tamara, don't go away.
And what I found interesting was that they would always include young people in the coronavirus obituaries.
Right.
When they only show 10, they would always try to show 2 or 3 young
You and
people.
Corolla were separated at birth. That's what he kept saying. We couldn't get the ages. Where are the ages? Where are the ages? Because everybody's old.
No, they would show the ages on this because they would pick and choose younger people to put in the obituaries. That's what I found fascinating.
Fascinating indeed. I'm right now, Tamara, looking for that article to see if I can find you the name of it. It was something like How the West Lost COVID to the Asian Countries, something like that. But it's a guy named Wallace Wells wrote it. And it's good review. It's well done, and it's dispassionate. And he's really looking at all the different. And here's essentially what I learned when I read the article, which is age is a thing, body weight is a thing. Otherwise, the virus does what the virus does. It's not much affected by much else.
But this article, I assume, is dominated by Chinese statistics.
No, it all looked pretty accurate to me. It looked like,
I'm saying, but China makes up the vast majority
of the Asian stuff,
of the Asian statistics.
Yeah, but they were looking at Japan very carefully, which did very well, and they were looking at Southeast Asia and stuff
but
as well.
now like Poland and Italy is
well,
shut
but this
down
is
again.
back to that phenomenon that the virus does what the virus does. Why is it going up in Poland and Italy? Because that's what the virus does.
It's cold.
It's really kind of wild until we figure out what are all the different factors that come in. So, Tamara, what else going on?
Okay. Yep. So, also too, wanted to kind of piggyback off of the gentleman that was talking about, what can they do to kind of ease some of the older generation
Yes.
to feel a little bit more comfortable going out.
Please.
And I know you made a comment around, sharing data and sharing statistics, and then also kind of your opinion around, if the lockdowns were helpful or not. I think where some of this kind of comes to play is even if we kind of like generalize our own opinions, some of the things that we kind of like work for, or the people that we work for, corporations, they are really dictating how they, have people either come into the office or have people, come into work versus what a lot of people are saying is helpful or not helpful. So, if you're working in corporate America and, they're literally monitoring the news like everybody else, and they're saying, oh, okay, we're going to lift mask mandates, and then, they bring everyone to work, and then, cases spike. Like, what is your opinion on that? I mean, yes, if, things get worse, people will try to, go in and social distance, but if that's going to dictate how people have to actually come out, then like, what's the solution there?
Well, I think generally something I've learned during this whole thing is how much people are locked into their corporate and large organizational structures and how scared they are. I saw it in my profession. I think that's in your question here a little bit. It's like you're being there's some of the, we look at the politicians and the federal government and the state and we're mad about that. But really, the really problematic part of this for me has been people looking for orthodoxy from their employer. And that's been weird. That's been flat out weird. My peers especially doing that, fearful of doing their job, fearful of doing what's right for them. And I don't know the answer to that, Tamara. Is it Tamara? Am I saying it right?
Yep, Tamara.
It's a great question. I think it's something we have to all really think about and learn and figure out how to solve. I don't know. I really don't know, but you're onto something here.
Hey, Tamara, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
By the way, Clubhouse has the smartest people. Oh, they only ask great questions.
Great.
It's really. I'm not kidding. You guys.
So I'm going to turn it around.
Uh-oh.
Tamara,
we're not on Clubhouse, so don't expect anything good from this question.
Tamara, are you a sister?
I'm sorry.
Are you wants to know if you're black?
Are you a black lady?
Oh, yes, I'm a black lady.
How do you feel about how people have made coronavirus into a racial issue? In terms of they're focusing on racial disparities. I've noticed a lot of that when I watch and read the New York Times.
I think Tamara and I are going to, I think them fighting words for both Tamara and I, but go ahead.
I'm
Tamara
curious
first.
your perspective on
Tamara
people
first.
doing that.
I don't know if it's made so much as a racial issue. I think what you're seeing is that regardless of what kind of happens in the world with, anything that kind of negatively impacts everyone, people of color, specifically Black and brown people, usually tend to suffer from it the most. So I think those are the points that people are kind of bringing to the light, not just saying, we're in a pandemic and, how do we, drive the conversation towards race.
Let me ask a question to that. I think you're absolutely correct. Number one, I don't know if Ami agrees, but I agree. Sure. But do you think the majority of that is some sort of systemic racism in our the way we deliver healthcare, or is this something about poor people? Or both?
So race,
or
yeah,
both.
So, I mean,
or both. Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can't deny kind of what's taken place throughout history. so, of course, whatever milestone you might want to say is, beneficial to Black people specifically, whether, that was with Abraham Lincoln, the civil rights, ultimately, the foot that we take forward, you see steps being taken backwards because there's other systems that are being placed to continue to not give us the same services or the same offers. Obviously, Black people have been more experimented on. I think, that leads to a whole other conversation of, why people might be hesitant to getting the vaccine.
Right.
So it just,
right. That's one of the things that scared me about the vaccine. If there was any adverse effect, that would have been how it was perceived, as something experiment on people, of color, which thank God it's turned out to be a good vaccine. Well, it's something worth thinking about. There's all kinds of, there's all kinds of opportunity here, and the healthcare side is taking it very, very seriously. I think, unfortunately, the way the government has dealt with it is I don't know if they've done it the right way or not. I think my profession is really trying to take it seriously. For me, one of the great examples of where my profession has it wrong is a great example is how we dealt with the crack epidemic as compared to the opioid epidemic. Right, opioid epidemic was mostly white middle class, and that was a tragedy. It was a disease, and the crack epidemic was criminals. That's it. And thank God, I keep saying thank God. When I was running a treatment program during the crack epidemic, and I just saw them as patients. I didn't see anybody as criminals. These are just people with addiction, and so thankfully I didn't fall into that soup. But it's a great example of how racist attitudes really misrepresent sometimes. When you're on an opiate or you're on a cocaine, a crack, you do shitty things. Both camps will behave like criminals. It's not because one is a criminal and one isn't. It's just what happens when people are on drugs.
But I tend to ascribe most of these things. Most of the things that get ascribed to race, if you really break it down, it ends up really being a class issue, not a race issue.
I don't know. Again, sometimes.
I would have to disagree.
Yeah.
I mean, there's classism can come into it, but I mean, just the way the country started off. I mean, I think you can't deny the race aspect of it as well.
No, of course you can.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, and this is gonna, people are gonna, again, I'm trying not to be political, but you, Tamara, I want you to back me up on this. I have a deep admiration and love for Frederick Douglass. That man opened my eyes to a ton of stuff.
I think the greatest Black man ever lived.
I put him in amongst the greatest in our country, period. I have to put a color on him.
Agreed.
He talked about Abraham Lincoln in a way that upset me so much. The scales just popped out of my eyes because he said this man, he originally essentially said, he was a racist to start with, but he saw better. He did come around, and he and Frederick Douglass became good friends, and his racism softened quite a bit. But he was never really the Black population's president. He would have gladly, this is Frederick Douglass's word, given up the entire population of slaves if it meant saving the Union. And I believe that's true.
Yeah.
I believe he would have. And then he called him what he was. And again, we got to all get together on this terminology. Because people, when I'm going to say this, think I'm saying he's a skinhead. I am not. But these are Frederick Douglass's words. He called him a white supremacist. And I thought, oh, Abraham Lincoln, I was all offended. And like, how dare you? And then I really read more of his speeches and thought more about what he was saying. I thought, oh, he's not talking about this thing a gang or all that nonsense. He's talking about a lack of empathy, really, is what he's talking about. But Tamara, you back me up.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, let's, obviously I can't speak for every Black person, but I think for a large majority of us, I can say that when you look at, the forefathers of the Constitution, when you write someone in as 3/5 of a person, I mean, you're not looking at them as a human being, right?
But you do realize the history of the 3/5, correct? That it wasn't about that at all. In fact, it was the opposite. It was trying to make sure that the South didn't have the votes to overtake and make slavery national. It wasn't at all. And if you look at the writings around it,
I agree with you. However, you're both right. You're both right, because you're right. It was Hamilton trying to negotiate. He was a negotiator, but he was willing to take a population that called him. He was willing to go there. He went there. Okay, and that's what people take issue with. And we got to all get together and have very serious conversations about this. And I unfortunately don't think I like this. I hope, Tamara, I hope this is okay with you, but I don't think enough of this stuff goes down to elevate the discourse. I think. Am I wrong, Tamara? You tell me.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Like I said, this is the way I put it when, other, Caucasians want to understand kind of our plight, right? I mean, all your life, you see yourself as the majority, you see yourself in a certain light subconsciously, right? It's not, that it was beaten in you, but I think when you are on the opposite end and you see the direct opposite, you see more of these like microaggression, type of ideas come about, and that's kind of just put on us, where, when we're in situations like a pandemic, like, whatever type of crisis, the crack cocaine, situation, you see how it just more, negatively impacts us. But yeah, I think, when you look at some of the people that we learn in the history class that, have done all these quote unquote great things, when you go and research, kind of where their intentions lie and who they were really advocating for, you start to see the other side. You start to see, well, maybe the whole thought idea of coming to this country and making it free for all wasn't really the full concept, right? And so, not to go down a rabbit hole, but that's what I think is being exposed. We saw a lot of.
There's a couple things I would say. One is, wouldn't you agree it's worthwhile for us all to advocate for that? Like we can let's get us there.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we all agree we want to go there. We want to get to that place. Yeah. And number two, and it's not so much that I forget what you said about how a Caucasian sees things, but they don't see anything because they're sitting in a position of privilege. They're not getting anything good or bad. They're just not getting it. And and I think now people are, and I just think we need to elevate the discourse from where it's been. That's all.
One thing on Frederick Douglass.
Yeah.
So his autobiography was one of the.
Which one? His own.
He
wrote two of them. He wrote two.
Oh, well, the one I read the shorter one.
Yeah.
I was a kid. I didn't have that.
Yeah.
But first of all, it was one of the foundational books for me in terms of my understanding of life and politics. And also, pound for page, probably the most powerful book ever written, because it's a short autobiography and worth everybody should spend the time to read it. His command of
language is crazy the way he commands language.
Do you know that his statue was defaced, right?
In all this, in all what's gone down recently? Oh, I didn't know that.
Because he wanted to have dialogue with white people. Yeah. He wanted to work with white people, and his statue was defaced and thrown into a river or to a lake in upstate New York.
That's hard to
true.
swallow.
I remember that.
I don't remember that, but. Well, Tamara, we're going to wrap things up, so I'm going to let you go. You really did us a service today. Thank you for bringing all these things up, will you?
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
All
We're
right,
going to
Tamara,
have to wrap it up, too.
Yes, I know. We got to go to dinner.
Great questions, though.
Yeah,
I'm digging the Clubhouse.
No, Clubhouse, people don't.
Nice audience.
They're smart on Clubhouse.
There was that one person who called in who was like a genius.
They are.
I don't remember who she was. Her name was like Min something.
Horowitz?
Yeah, that one. Oh my God, that was wow.
She was
incredible.
And her picture was really pretty too. You should see it.
Hot and smart.
So again, I hope this was a worthwhile conversation for everybody. I like talking to Ami because it goes a lot of places, and I think we did go a lot of places.
Yeah.
And he's not afraid to go anywhere.
And we were going to go out to dinner, so I figured why not have him on the show.
Yeah, Susan, well done.
Yes. And we have
I'm going to wrap up Clubhouse. I thank you all for being here. I'm sorry I couldn't get to everybody whose hand was raised. I hope this was a worthwhile conversation for those of you on Clubhouse. You certainly were very patient and attentive, and we will come back regularly.
Eliza Blue will be here on Thursday.
We're going to speak to Eliza Blue, who was human trafficked and knows an awful lot about the status of where we are with human trafficking these days. We're having Alan Shore in here. He's one of my heroes.
I haven't booked him.
Who else coming up?
David Allen Greer?
He's welcome. I mean, he's very welcome. Susan?
Tomorrow it's going to have to be a little later unless Caleb can run the board. He's going to come in, so because I have a 3:30 appointment. So
I'm happy to go. Except I have a 5 o'clock thing I have to do.
I don't know. Maybe we'll skip it. We'll see.
No. I want to do a show. It's all good.
Or I'll set it up and he can finish it. But
there you go.
Because he's coming to do that with you. And
okay.
Who knows who will pop in tomorrow? It might be Ami's mom.
Get Ricky in here. All right, so long till you on Clubhouse. I'm ending the room. Thank you all for having been here. I'm not ending the stream, however. I want to again thank Joe Giannotti for that data. It's incredibly, it's just reassuring to me to see what's happening. And again, I wouldn't really know that New York piece if I hadn't been able to visualize it with the information that he's given me. In LA County, just to bring it home here in Los Angeles, we are down to 318 cases today. Wow. We were up around 20,000 cases a day. There's 318 today. Orange County, Susan, what do you think Orange County is?
35.
23.
Oh.
Wait, 318 cases? It's time to ban outdoor dining again.
No, we're
time to ban it again.
Just so you know, this is when we locked down.
Right.
This is when we sheltered in place.
Well, we're going out to dinner tonight too.
Yes,
so
inside or outside?
Pasadena is probably outside. Like 12. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Pasadena's been on this last few days. We go out there and people are just like celebrating the streets. And there's a weird parade impulse in California. Since they closed the Rails parade, you'll see parades of cars, parades of bicycles, we have this weird parade instinct in Pasadena.
Remember, by July 4th, we might be able to get together with a small group of people, family members, maybe. So we can look forward to that 4 months from now.
Is that what they're saying?
Yes, that's what the president said.
And Tom Cigar, are you coming after us for being too woke today? I'm trying to elevate woke into rational discourse, rational recovery. Everybody, that's what I'm looking for.
I'm often accused of being too woke.
Are you?
All the time. You're too woke.
Seriously?
No.
Oh, I was going to say.
No, I was going to say you're way from woke.
You sort of buffer me against that accusation.
I'm in deep REM sleep.
You're
according
tone
to them.
deaf. That's what you are.
Tone
like
deaf.
Me.
I can totally agree.
So tell people where they can go to see your stuff.
I don't even know what that means. That's how tone deaf I am.
She's so tone deaf. She doesn't know what tone deaf is. So it's pretty funny. So tell people where they can see your videos. I want to describe a couple of them. So.
They can go on YouTube, follow me on Facebook, Twitter,
Ami
all the regular social overlords.
Ami Horowitz. Have you been canceled at any point? Have they threatened to cancel you?
No. So I'll tell you what has happened, which is really fascinating. So on Facebook and YouTube, two different types of things. So on Facebook, right before the election, I would say about a month before the election, so I was getting probably 20 to 25,000 engagements per post, which is to give you some context, New York Times gets 6,000 engagements per post. So serious engagement on Facebook. Yeah. It went from 20,000 engagements per post down to about 3,000 or 4,000 engagements per post. They just put the brakes on it. It was incredible. One day
they just stopped it.
Stopped it until 2 months after the election, and now it's higher than ever. Now we're over 35,000 engagements per post. But they just put a stop to and it wasn't just me. They did it to Ben. They did it to Dennis, Ben Shapiro, Dennis Prager. I'm assuming they did it with Adam. They probably didn't do it to you because you're not.
We got taken off YouTube for a while.
I think we just got killed on Periscope for the Dr. Jensen thing.
Oh, is that what did it?
Maybe. I don't know. Or they're just in transition. But
no, they're not in transition. Everybody else has Periscope. Why would just we be picked out for a transition?
Something happened.
So why don't we ask our buddies?
I asked Caleb, and he said that it wasn't that, and it was something from he's going to check the computer tomorrow.
Why don't we ask Nick, what's his name?
I have a feeling it's because of that. Something happened. But
why don't we ask
Steve Kirsch?
No, Nick what's his name? Nicolo.
He doesn't work with Periscope, only YouTube.
I'm going to bet he has some information. That's my bet.
Nah.
All right. Go ahead. So what's up there now?
So then
go ahead. Finish about YouTube.
Yeah. So YouTube then pulled just certain videos. But didn't demonetize. I don't really monetize anyways, or restrict. They just pulled them. And for example, they pulled my video where I exposed open anti-Semitism at a Duke UNC conference, right? Which actually led to the president signing an executive order for Title VI to cover anti-Semitism in Title VI. They pulled that video. And it wasn't caught in an algorithm because they told me it was reviewed by humans and decided that it was hate speech, right? Me exposing anti-Semitism was hate speech. So of course I was outraged, and I luckily I put up on Twitter, at Susan Wojnarowski, whoever the lady who runs YouTube, and the video, it went viral. It got 10,000 comments, so she had to respond to it, and she did, and she apologized.
Good.
And said that it was now reviewed again by her, and they put it back up. But they were just pulling videos off of conservatives, and they continue to do that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I know, it's time to be more woke, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I got to woke up.
I'm dead asleep.
So, well, whatever. I'm sick of all that stuff.
I'm trying. I just know I'm old now.
I just want to say, hit him with the hind.
Hit him with the hind.
Fatty.
Hit him with the high.
All right, and we're going to dinner.
Well, just really quickly,
You're gonna have to call. We're late.
I think one of the more dramatic Ami Horowitz videos was the one where you went into the inner sanctum, those inner circles in Sweden, in Stockholm, those where you got beat up.
Yes.
Is that, what would they look for that one? What's that
Here's
called?
They pulled that too.
Why?
They pulled that too.
Here's a quick one.
Keep anybody out.
Yeah, I think it's just rooted in racism, specifically like Hispanics.
This is open border. They want open borders.
Okay.
I'm Ami Horowitz, and Joe Biden has been pushing a progressive agenda, but has it been progressive enough for the left? Let's go find out.
So you're down in East Village again. West Village again.
East Village.
East Village now, okay.
It's good music.
Ami on the loose.
So do you think Joe Biden has been progressive enough as president?
Not even like 1%.
Where do you think he's failing?
Everywhere.
Joe Biden is progressive enough as president?
No.
Progressive enough as president?
No.
Is anybody ever happy with a president? I'm not sure.
What's interesting to me, I would expect that sort of around NYU.
Ask my mother if she was happy with Trump.
NYU, around NYU would be.
Let me
more...
ask. Were you happy?
No, don't. Let's not. No.
You don't want to get political? Do not have my mother on.
Okay. I'm not. I'm apolitical. But anyways, we have to go to dinner.
All right, we got to go. We appreciate you guys being on the stream today. Ami, thank you for coming in. Check out AmiHorowitz.com. Right, that's the website.
We
Ami
love
Horowitz
you all on
Twitter.
Restream.
And,
sorry, Periscope. But
if
life is
again, we're just trying to have elevated discourse. I think Tamara helped us get there. I think Ami was kind to get us there as well, and I think we'll continue to do our best. So until then, we'll see you tomorrow around 3 o'clock Pacific. You like that?